And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Strategy Show. It is Tuesday, September 26th. I am Josh Engleman here to break down an 11-game if you're playing on DraftKings slate, 10 games if you're playing on FanDuel. Luckily for the FanDuel people, they don't have to deal with Coors tonight. I wish that we didn't, but we have Coors today on the DK slate, which means we have the Dodgers on the DK slate, which means everything is really ridiculous on the DK slate. Hope you guys enjoyed your NFL coverage yesterday. Hope you enjoyed myself and Matt Bellman breaking down the MLB streets yesterday. We like the Rangers. They did hit 4 dingers last night. I assume that was helpful. But for today, we're going to break it all down. We got a lot to talk about. Honestly, there's a lot of games, which we already know. And then we've got NFL Strategy Show coming up next, 11 a.m. Laffy and Ben. You do not want to miss that one. It is Tuesday, so you're going to get a lot of good info in that show. Don't skip it. Watch it. It's coming up immediately after this. I believe my lineups are done. I'm going to confirm that right now. They are. So we're going to be able to dig into this one right away. First and foremost, guys, hit that like button if you haven't done it already. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. All right, lineups are updated. Do I have the Dodgers? I don't really have the Dodgers. Now, maybe that has to do with the Michael King ownership, but apparently I'm not getting to the Dodgers as much as I would have expected. That's fine. Now we're going to start talking some baseball. So if you're ready, folks, let's do it. Blair Fink, first time watching live, usually always catch it a bit later on. Happy to have you. It's exciting to see. Glad you're here. Yeah, Stephen Leibowitz, second game of the doubleheader. The good news is we'll have that lineup. Like, if the doubleheader started at like 5 or something, it would be really annoying, but we should have that one without any issues. And we're going to start today off. First game on the docket. Toronto Blue Jays, 4-run implied total, taking on the Yankees at 3.2. Kevin Gausman at 11,500. Going up against Michael King and the Yankees. So one talking point that I need to hit right now, if you're looking at the screen, we have Michael King 32% owned. This will probably change before the end of this show, although we'll see. I'm going to need to get it updated again. There's a slight bug in our data that flip-flopped the line for the Jays and the Yankees. So it's making Michael King look like he's an aggressive favorite in this spot. Meanwhile, it's not. It's sort of doing the opposite to Kevin Gausman. So I think King will still look solid enough at 6K as a value option, but he will not be 32% owned. That number will come in a bit lower. Give me 1 second, folks. Evidently, I read it wrong. My bad. My bad. Did I really read that wrong? Did I read that wrong both days? I pointed out that error, and I think that I might actually be incorrect. God damn. All right. Well, never mind. I'm actually wrong. I'm actually completely wrong. I looked at our data incorrectly, saw the opposing total was flip-flopped. Michael King just projecting as a 31% owned dude today. Now, Do I think that's a little high? Yeah, but this dude has been striking guys out at a slightly different level. I could have swore I read that incorrectly, but boy, oh boy, was I wrong. Alrighty, now we're back into it. I couldn't believe 31% on this 10-game slate. That's massive. I guess we need to talk a little bit about Michael King then. I'm going to pull him up on FanGraphs because he's become a bit of a tale of two different players. So for King, he's developed this strikeout stuff that like didn't exist before. So heading in like as a prospect, we're talking about a guy that's 28 years old. We're talking about a guy that as a prospect was a command guy, not a strikeout guy. This is somebody who prior to last year had a 20% K rate. So he came into 2022 and saw a massive change in his strikeout rate. We saw his velocity jump 1.8 miles per hour last year, although that is now back down again this year. Pitch mix doesn't look all that different. So what has changed for this dude to just gather these strikeouts? Because 6 days ago, he nuked Toronto. Absolutely nuked Toronto. 13 Ks, 5 hits, 7 innings. I mean, it was massive. He's been making his last 6 starts since the end of August. Like, we can look at this now. His last 6 starts since he's come up, he has a 38% K rate in the majors as a starter. He's not even walking dudes. So we need to think about that a little bit in terms of projection. Is he just a completely different guy now? What do we have as a strikeout prop for Michael King tonight? Michael King's strikeout prop is currently set at 5.5. Over is juiced -128. I have him right now at 4, which implies that his strikeout rate should be quite a bit higher. Like, I've got Kevin Gausman at 7. That's at a 28% K rate. Do we need to think that Michael King is a different player now? Maybe. He's a really nice value option here, but I don't like the spot. Like, the park helps for sure, and he clearly did just run through this Toronto team a week ago. But I stand by this. There's not a ton of strikeouts in this Blue Jays lineup. I think the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle. Do I think that he should be 31% owned? No. Do I think that should probably be somewhere around like 20? Yeah. So I think King is a little bit over-owned. But at the same time, I do think that he is an excellent value option. All right, what else do we got that we could touch on for today? I guess we got to talk Kevin Gausman here, which isn't really that interesting because he's good. We know he's good. And this Yankees team has some power in it. I mean, we literally just saw this matchup go. It's clear that you want to go to Gausman at 11.5. He's $1,200 more expensive than Zach Eflin. So he's kind of on an island, but this Yankees team doesn't project all that well. The run total is comically low. We have him projected for 31% ownership. I got him at 49. I have no problem at all going to Kevin Gausman. I think it is quite easy to do. So I want to pay for that ceiling. I think his top pitcher odds are showing him as a 30+% owned dude. I'm paying for the talent right out of the gate. I'm paying for the big strikeout numbers. Give me some Kevin Gausman. What's his alternate strikeout line? 9+ strikeouts is +138. +138. So, call it 45%, something in that neighborhood. To get to 9, yeah, I like that quite a bit. Chris Williams with the super chat. Hit the like button, folks. Show Josh some support. Does a great job running solo on the show. Time to atone. I agree. Everyone should be hitting that like button. So as we look at this game, I think it stands out very clearly as a matchup that we are looking to get as much pitching as we can in. I don't see the same sort of scenario for the hitting, although clearly if you want to go to a side of this game, it's the Blue Jays side of it, because Kevin Gausman is owned because of his talent. Michael King may be owned because of his talent, but he's definitely owned because of his price. Kevin Gausman is 11,500. So, like, if you want to go to a side of this one, it's the Blue Jays, because you get on the opposite side of Michael King's ownership. That said, I'm not really getting there. I have the Blue Jays 17th in top stack. We have them 16th. They don't grade out well. We both have the Yankees at 21st. Neither one of these teams gets to 2% in aggregate ownership. I don't have 2% of either one of them. The most I have of any hitter is either DJ LeMahieu at 3% or Cavan Biggio at 3%. As I look at this right now, I don't want the hitting. I do want a lot of Kevin Gausman. I probably want a little bit less of Michael King, although the upside is certainly there. King's alternate strikeout line. It does exist. So he's plus 164 for 7+. That would be a really nice number at 6K. So he does look good. I'm going to have to do a little bit of tweaking to Michael King here, because I just don't have his strikeout rate projected the same way that, maybe we should expect it. That's part of the problem. I say problem pretty loosely for using a model like Steamer. Now, Steamer is on a different level for Michael King. Zips has him at 32% K rate. The depth charts have him at 28. The bat even has him at 26. So I am coming in as the low man here. That will get corrected later, and I will get to more Michael King. Ranking the game, Gausman, King, Jays, Yankees. Red Sox and Rays are the next game up. 4-run implied total here for Boston. 4.4 for the Rays. Tanner Houck going for the Red Sox. Zach Eflin going for the Rays. 13% ownership coming into Houck at 7K. No ownership coming into Eflin at 10,300. Eflin's just a really difficult guy to get to here. The Red Sox are a completely reasonable team to get to. Eflin isn't like a big strikeout guy. So it's in theory, like a bad spot for Boston on paper, but not a great spot for Eflin at 10,300. I don't want to go to Eflin. I don't really want to go to too much Tanner Houck. I think the Rays are solid. It's certainly not like a great strikeout matchup, although if it's low and a Rosarena at the top, it helps out a little bit. Tanner Houck's 13% owned. He should probably be around 10, so I have no issue with it. He is a guy you should get to. I have 5%. We got to talk bats in this game, though. I don't know what's causing this to happen, but I am getting to the Rays in a big way. I like the power for sure, but let's think about what Tanner Houck is first. So Tanner Houck, 21% K rate to lefties, 21% K rate to righties, but 227 X ISO to lefties, 0.08 to righties. So not a great spot for the righties in the Rays lineup. It's going to be difficult for Pinto and Manny Margot, Taylor Walls. That's not going to be the best spot here. I guess Walls is going to hit from the left side. But Josh Lowe, Raimel Tapia at 2,600. Jonathan Aranda at 2,700 for a third baseman. I like the lefty bats. Taylor Walls, I guess, for a lefty shortstop. I like the lefty bats here against Tanner Houck. Now, I'm getting to way too much of the Rays. They are 8th in our top stack, 9th in ownership. I'm getting 20% of them. I have 38 stacks. I'm just going to immediately cut that down because I don't want to play 38 stacks of the Rays today. That's just not necessary. So I'm going to knock that down one notch, bring it down maybe, we'll get into like the either right around 30. Yeah, right around 30 now. So that brings me down to about 16 to 17%. Look, Tapia is going to look really good because of that salary if he's in. But I like the Rays. I like getting on the opposite side of 13% ownership on Tanner Houck too, just because of that power against lefties. But if we flip to the opposite side, I'm actually getting to a little bit of Boston here against Eflin. Now, I hate this. I hate this in a big, big way. But I have their top stack odds a little bit higher than we do. And I certainly have their value odds a little bit higher. Do I like that? No, we have them 19th in top stack, 20th in top value. I have a hard time saying that the Red Sox are 19th in top stack when we have like the Cardinals with a 3.5 run implied total, the A's at 3.7, the Mets, the Marlins, the Yankees at 3.2. I think Boston grades out a little bit better than that. I don't think they grade out as well as I think they do, but they're 19th in ownership. So if the most owned guy is Rafael Devers here at 4%, I understand why I'm getting to a little bit of Boston, but we're talking about an Eflin who, 150x ISO to both hands. This isn't a spot where I think they're in, like, on paper, the Red Sox aren't the team that I want, but I am getting to the bats in this game much more than I thought that I would. Yeah, temperatures in the low 50s. This doesn't strike me as a game that I should be getting to, yet I am for right now. 31 stacks of the Rays, 18 stacks of the Red Sox, 26% aggregate ownership to 5 in this game. This appears to be the stand that I'm taking. I hope it goes away. As I rank this game, I'm going to call it Rays bats, Tanner Houck, Red Sox bats, Eflin. But I don't feel great about that. Rays bats are definitely first, though. All right, we are through 2 games. We have 9 more to go, or a quarter of the way through this one. We'll go to the Mets and Marlins next. I'll hit this one quickly. Unique. What happened to Adam? He took off until the end of, or until the NBA starts. So he'll be back in a couple weeks. Mets and Marlins. 3.6 run implied total for New York. 3.9 for the Marlins. Joey Lucchesi and Braxton Garrett. Lucchesi 8% owned at 7,200. Braxton Garrett 11% owned at 8,600. I kind of like both of these guys. I think they should probably be very similarly owned relative to salary. And that's what you're seeing, 8% and 11%. I'm getting to more Lucchesi. I think he's easier to get to. We've seen, is he good? No, he's not good at all. At least I don't think he's any good. But he's striking out lefties. Righties are touching him up a little bit, but he's not giving up any power to lefties in any way. It's going to be a lot of righties for the Marlins. Probably only going to be Jazz Chisholm as the lefty. So that opens up the Marlins to be at least a little bit interesting. But at 7,200, I think Lucchesi does look interesting as just like a normal old value dude. Similarly, for Braxton Garrett, I do think he should be right around 10% owned. I just don't happen to have him at 8,600. But I don't have any problem with it. We'll get to the guy that I have in that price range a little bit later. Bats, though, very easy to talk about. The Mets are 22nd in top stack. They're also 22nd in my top stack. They're also not a very good value play. 19th in ours, 20th in mine. They're unowned. I bit my tongue. I legitimately don't have a share of the Mets. On the opposite side here, Marlins are middle of the pack in top stack, middle of the pack in value, middle of the pack in ownership, and just like a middle of the pack team. We're also in a pitcher's park, so the most I have of anybody in this game that isn't Joey Lucchesi is 4% owned Jorge Soler. I don't want this game. This is a stay away unless you're getting to pitching. I would rank the pitching Lucchesi, Garrett, Marlins bats, Mets bats. Steven, I don't, 0 degree. I don't even think about it. All right, next up, we're going Braves and Cubs. This is a really interesting matchup today. Bryce Elder going for the Braves, 5-run implied total. Justin Steele going for the Cubs. He's at 4.3. Elder is 3% owned at 7,700. I think that's about where he looks. 5% of Elder is fine. Justin Steele is 9,900. Now, we know how good Justin Steele is as a pitcher. He is unowned, completely unowned, and he should be. Now, this is a guy with a 30% K rate to lefties and a 23% K rate to righties. Let's think about this for a second. We're probably only going to see Matt Olson and Michael Harris in the Braves lineup. So we're going to get 7 righties, most of which have a lot of power. So the strikeouts won't be there for Steele, but the power won't really be there for the Braves either. Because lefty power is what plays up against Steele. They just don't have enough of it. So I don't see any interest in going to Steele, but I also don't want to go to the Braves because Steele doesn't really give up much issues to righties. And then for the righties for the Braves, Acuna, Albies, Riley, all those guys are 5,700, upwards of 6,900 for Acuna. So while the Braves are a top 5-ish stack today, they're unowned at 2.5% aggregate. 6% to Acuna is the most of anybody on the Braves. I only have one stack. I have 2%. I don't really see how you go to the Braves here. It's a terrible spot as far as facing like a really good pitcher. And they don't have the bat set up to make Justin Steele's bad stuff look better. So like it could be a really nice spot for Matt Olson to go yard. But with the way he limits righty power, I don't like this for either side. So then on the Cubs end of this one, I certainly like the Cubs a little bit more against Bryce Elder. But at the same time, Elder doesn't really get hit all that hard. And the Cubs are pretty expensive, 17th in top value. That's pretty close to the bottom at 22. So I have one stack of the Cubs, one stack of the Braves, 3% total of this. Like the most I have of any Cub is 2%. I think this game is mostly a stay away. Although if you want to pick off individual Braves bats, clearly I get it. But like, I don't really know how you want to get to Atlanta, and I can't see any scenario where you want to go to Justin Steele. To me, he might be the worst guy that you can get to today just because of the matchup. Because we're talking about a guy, like, his strikeouts come against lefties. 30% K rate against lefties. That's Olson and Michael Harris. That's it. That's it. So I don't like going to the Atlanta Braves today because I just think they're too expensive. And obviously they're facing like one of the better pitchers in the NL. All right. As I mentioned before, folks, the schedule is as follows. NFL Strategy Show coming up next. Top of the hour, 11 a.m., Laffy and Ben. And then we only have one other live show for today, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, MLB Live before lock. It is not me. Neil Orfield, Matt Bellman, they're going to break this one down again. They'll get all of the news. All you have to do is tune in at 6 p.m. So make sure you guys are doing that. Sign up for whatever you see in the description of this video. That will help too. We're going to touch on Owner's Box in a sec, but you guys missed out on the Red Zone promo. That ended yesterday. That would have got you our NFL lineup generator for $9.99. Pigeon Man, this may be a dumb question, but where do you find the X ISO pitcher splits? I get mine at Add More Funds, but I'm guessing they exist on like Fangraphs and stuff. Just Add More Funds has been the easier way to find it. Twins and A's, 4.6 run implied total for Minnesota, 3.7 for Oakland. Bailey Ober and Paul Blackburn. Bailey Ober is 9,100 today. Look, I get that the Oakland A's aren't good, but that's a really big price tag on Bailey Ober. Now, Bailey Ober doesn't get a lot of strikeouts against lefties, gives up no power. Bailey Ober gets a 28% K rate to righties, but he also gives up a 250 X ISO. So the righties for Oakland may strike out a lot because 28% aggregate K rate is where I have the Oakland A's today. However, Zach Geloff, Brent Rooker, Shea Langoliers, Jordan Diaz, all of these guys have a bunch of pop on the right side. And this one is in Minnesota, not Oakland. There's a lot of downside to Bailey Ober. The problem is the strikeout upside is very, very difficult to ignore. And that is going to lead us to Bailey Ober. He is 30% owned, tied basically with Kevin Gossman and with Michael King. And I don't really disagree with it at all. Now, we don't have an official line yet because I don't think that Paul Blackburn is the official starter of this game. But when we do, and we can start looking into these props, I think the alternate strikeout lines for Bailey Ober are going to look great. The A's bats are about as bad as any bats can be. They're probably the worst bats on the day just because Colorado is in Coors. So I agree with the Bailey Ober ownership. 30 might be a tad high, but I don't really think that it should be anything different because this matchup is as good as it gets on paper. On the opposite side for Blackburn, Probably going to be like 5 to 10% owned. Makes some sense. There's a lot of strikeouts in the Twins lineup. So I think Blackburn works as a value option. He's definitely an interesting pivot off of Michael King. If King is going to be like 3.5 to 4 times as owned as Blackburn, I don't mind that pivot. But we're talking large field stuff at that point. But I do think that ownership for Bailey Ober looks good because there are so many strikeouts. Think about this right now. Steamer projects the strikeout rate for the first 4 hitters in the Oakland lineup to be 32, 32, 27, 33, and 29. By the way, league average strikeout rate is like 21. So Bailey Ober is set up to mow down the Oakland A's. That said, Bailey Ober does give up a lot of power to righties. As I mentioned, 250 x ISO to righties. I want to get to the A's too. This park is totally fine for power. It's basically neutral across the board. The A's are 18th in ownership. They're terrible in top stack odds, but we have them second in value. I have them number 1, and we've got Bailey Ober in 30% of lineups on the opposite side. Give me the A's as a sneak stack. Right now, I have 25 Oakland A's stacks against Ober. More than I need because they're 18th in ownership. But, you know, if I'm getting 12% of Noda, 10% of Geloff, 19% of a $3,100 Seth Brown, 11% of a $3,700 Brent Rooker, 16% of Langoliers, a 3K shortstop that has a 170 shortstop catcher, a 3K catcher with a 170 ISO against righties. Yeah, man, I think this A's team is going to get slept on today. The Oakland A's are my sneak stack against Bailey Ober's ownership. On the opposite side for the Twins, they are getting ownership. They are 3rd in aggregate ownership at 8.5%. We have them 4th in stack score, but at 5.5%. I think the Twins are aggressively over-owned. I have very little interest in Minnesota here against Paul Blackburn. I only have 1 stack. I have less than 2%. As I rank this game, it goes Ober, A's bats, Blackburn, Twins. I don't like that Twins ownership today. I'm going to get away from it. Game number 6, Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, what a gigantic victory this has turned out to be. Guys, I've been talking for 28 minutes. I forgot I still have iced coffee to drink. Oh, what a glorious day. Let's see if we can get some of that water to drop itself down here. I'm starting to settle on the top. Give it a stirski. I was so thirsty. I didn't realize I had it. Brewers and Cardinals. 4.4 run implied total for Milwaukee. 3.6 for the Cards. Adrian Hauser and Zach Thompson. 6,800 for Hauser. 5,500 for Thompson. Hauser's 5% owned. 5 to 10 works. Zach Thompson is 12% owned. That's about right because of the price tags. 5,500 for Zach Thompson is just really cheap. The problem is Zach Thompson gives up a 190 x ISO to righties across 780 pitches this year. There's some strikeouts for Thompson, but as I look at it right now, I think you're seeing 2 like completely reasonable value pitching arms. You should have 5 to 10 of Hauser, about 10 of Thompson. Neither one of these guys are major priorities, but they are guys that you should be getting to. They're not complete stayaways like Ryan Feltner. Now for bats, I think both of these teams might be total stayaways for me. The park plays up power, but it plays down runs, and I think that matters a bit. We have the Brewers 8th in ownership. We have the Cardinals 13th. They're both around 4%. Brewers a little higher, Cardinals a little lower. I don't have either one of these teams. I don't really see the value here. There's not enough ownership going to the pitchers that I like the opposite side. I don't think either team has enough power to be really interesting. Although, like the Brewers have it. They either have it or they don't. You either have no power or you have William Contreras, Adames, Donaldson, Tyrone Taylor, like 200 ISO type dudes. So if the Brewers guys get on, it starts to look a little bit better. I don't have Milwaukee. I don't have the Cardinals. I think both of these teams are bottom half teams in terms of hitting. So I look at it as a game where I would rather have the pitching. Give me Thompson, give me Hauser. I guess give me Brewers bats and then Cardinals bats. But I really just don't like the offenses on either side here. Maybe I should. Maybe I should be a little bit more interested in Milwaukee just because of the power. But it's not for me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about the power to righties for Thompson. He's limiting lefties pretty well. I'm surprised he's getting as many strikeouts with the relatively limited swinging strike rate. The problem for Thompson is the only lefty he's likely to see is Christian Yelich. I think he's going to see 8 righties, and that's troublesome from a power potential. He's going to see it's the free dudes that are really going to be a problem for Thompson. Because if guys just get on, somebody's going to go yard. Thompson this season, he's walking 3.5 per 9. It's a 9 to 10% walk rate. He's got to get lucky with runners on. I don't love that game at all. All right, we got to talk about Owner's Box. I'm actually pretty excited to do this. One, I just like talking Owner's Box because I've been playing there a lot. My lineups had really good positive ROI pre-lock. I once again did not get anything out of it. Now, I'm going to share my screen as I log in. I want to talk about what you can get from Owner's Box if you sign up using the link in the description of this video. But I want to get surprised when I do this too. So, as I log in, I heard a rumor that they might bump their Week 4 NFL contest up again. Now, I don't even know if it's out yet, so it might not even be here. But if it is, I'm very anxious to see what they have because they overlaid again last week, and it was, for the 3rd straight week in the NFL, the best contest anywhere in the industry that you could get into. Because your expectation of walking away with money was so much better than it was for anything else. So I'm going to log in. Okay, they do not have their contest up yet for the main slate. So we will talk about that tomorrow when it drops. But we do want to talk about what they've got going on. I want you guys to sign up at Owner's Box for 2 separate reasons. One, you are going to get 1 week of our NFL Sims Max package for free. That's going to cover you for DraftKings, for FanDuel, for Owner's Box. You'll be good to go for Showdown on Thursday, primetime slates on Sunday and Monday, plus the main slate on Sunday. You're going to get a lot of coverage with the Sims tool. And this Sims tool is the upper echelon of tools in the industry. You can create a 10,000 lineup player pool, simulate all of those lineups against each other, get ROI numbers on players, on stacks, on lineups themselves. You're going to put in better lineups than you ever did before. So you get to test out the new best thing that we have. You also get up to $500 on your first deposit. If you put in $500, they will match with another $500, but it's an 100% match bonus all the way to the top. If you only put in $100, they'll give you $100 as well. So you have the opportunity to double your bankroll right out of the gate and get the NFL Sims Max tool, all just for signing up. You got to deposit at least $10, but anything above that is just to your benefit. So please, guys, come sign up at Owner's Box. We'll check it out again tomorrow. You're going to end up being able to enter the best NFL contest that will exist on Sunday at Owner's Box. Compare that to any other site out there. Nothing will be better than Owner's Box. I promise you that. Come sign up with us. Link in the description. Chunk the Deuce. My apologies. I should have known that anyway. Do you have projected run totals on this sheet? I can't ever seem to find it. I do. Column E of all the teams and their run totals up along this side. I think that's what you're looking for. Fuck, that coffee's so good right now. Alrighty. Jose Urania And the White Sox are taking on Zach Davies and the Diamondbacks. Illustrious pitching matchup we have here. 5K for Urania, unowned, and I agree with it. Zach Davies, 5,300, basically unowned at 4%. I mostly agree with it. I have 3%. Neither one of these guys are good on a pitching standpoint. This is where the hitting is going. 13% ownership going to the Diamondbacks. That is second. Now, that should sound pretty crazy, but the Dodgers are in course today, so we'll get to that in a bit. 13% aggregate ownership coming into the Diamondbacks in Chicago. Park plays up power to both hands. Obviously, Jose Urena not good. 189 x-ISO to lefties with no strikeouts. 354 to righties with no strikeouts. It's hard to not want to go to Arizona. However, we need to have a conversation here because I would rather go to the Colorado Rockies, and we'll talk about them in the next game. We have the Diamondbacks third in top stack, second in value. I have it fourth and third, but I have their top stack odds higher than we do. So either way, around 7%. They're getting 13% ownership. Now, they're free. $5,600 for Corbin Carroll, $4,700 for Marte and Walker. All those prices are right. Everybody else is in the 3Ks. I get that they're a high top stack odds. I get that they're a top value team. You're certainly looking to the Diamondbacks for maybe cash options that aren't the Dodgers. And clearly, the matchup in the park looked great. But these guys are overowned. And if I'm playing in a large field contest today, I am not going to be getting to 13.5% of the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are a fantastic team. I'd be interested to see them in single entry compared to the Dodgers. But in large field stuff, I don't think that I'm going to be getting to Arizona. I think they're overrepresented. I have 6%. That's half the field. I have 7 stacks. As of right now, I find the Diamondbacks a little problematic for their ownership. Everything on paper, though, is coming up Diamondbacks. Certainly like Carroll, Pham, Walker, Thomas all hit 7% implied odds. White Sox on the opposite side. It's not like Zach Davies is any good. So talking about him is important. He's giving up a 160 x-ISO to righties, 170 to lefties. Doesn't really get a ton of strikeouts against lefties. 4% aggregate ownership for the White Sox. We have them probably properly owned. I have 5 stacks and 4%. So I'm not getting to a ton of Chicago. I have a little bit. I think the moral of the story for me is that I kind of just want to get away from some of this Diamondbacks ownership. As I rank this game, it's clearly Arizona, Chicago, Davies, Urania. But I don't have much else to say here. Arizona is going to be chalky. What you do with that will determine what else is in the rest of your lineup. All right. Now is when we need to talk about the big game for today. The real game for today. And that's Rockies-Dodgers, game 2 of a doubleheader. So who the hell knows what this lineup ends up looking like for both teams when it's all over. Don't play Bobby Miller or Ryan Feltner. Just don't go to pitching. But let's talk Dodgers. This is the easy one. Dodgers are number 1 in top stack, number 1 in ownership, number 1 in stack score across the board. Let's talk about this for a second. We have the Dodgers 31% top stack. Now, I'm usually the extreme mark. I have them number 1 as well, but only at 22%. They're 18% owned. Every bit of the ownership going to the Dodgers is fine. If you can afford it, go for it. Like, if they're only... Like, they're way better than the Diamondbacks. If I'm going to eat chalk, I'm eating Dodgers chalk, not Diamondbacks chalk. I have 7 stacks. I have 10%. I'll likely have them more as singles, 2-mans, 3-mans than I will total 5-mans. But let's be very clear here. The Los Angeles Dodgers are the number 1 stack. It's not even remotely close. As per usual, though, give me the Rockies side of this one. The Rockies are 5.5% owned today. They have a 5.6 run implied total in my odds. That's a bigger number than the Arizona Diamondbacks. And they are like 35% the ownership of Arizona. We have them 4th in top stack, 11th in value, 6th in stack score. I have 27 Rocky stacks, 15% ownership. I'm 3xing the field. Right here's what I want. I want the Colorado Rockies. If the Diamondbacks are going to get the ownership, then give me Colorado in Colorado. Are they good? No, they're a terrible baseball team, but they're at home in a park that plays up power, in a park that greatly plays up runs, and they're just not getting owned like they should. They don't have a single guy in their lineup above 5K. All I want is the Colorado Rockies today. I think they are the other sneaky team, especially if the Diamondbacks are going to get a lot of love. That's where I want to be. Like, I'm getting to everything. Every bit of Colorado will be in my lineup, and I'm going to have Dodgers as filler. Oh, I got a piece of ice. It was really cold. Really cold. But clearly, this is a game that you want to attack for bats. I have 25% total, and I am more than okay with that. I'm happy to give up a little bit of Dodgers to get Colorado, too. But remember, we have no idea what this will look like. It is game 2. The good news is the first game is early in the day. This one's at 8:40. We will have these lineups before lock, so we'll know what we're getting ourselves into. Guys, we're up to 146 people. It's nice when there's no football. Hit that like button. It will help us out tremendously. So hit that like button. Let's run that number up. Let's go to, we have 3 games left. Angels and Rangers. 4.3 run implied total for the Angels. 5.2 for Texas. Reed Detmer's going for LA. Cody Bradford going for Texas. Detmer's actually pulling a little bit of love here. 14% owned at 7,300 against Texas. I don't disagree with it. He should be 10 to 15% owned, but the strikeouts exist. Terrifying spot against Texas. They've got a big run total. They don't strike out a lot. Tons of power. Ultra talented. So a lot of boom bust here for Reed Detmers, but there's certainly some strikeouts to be had. On the opposite side, Cody Bradford's 5% owned. Don't play him. That would be my recommendation. I'm going to take one last sip of coffee, put this one to bed. All right. Let's talk bats. We have Texas second in top stack. I have them third. They are fourth in ownership at 6%. No real disagreements there. They do look good. I'm a little bit more of a Reed Detmers believer, but so I have 4%. I have 5 stacks. The most owned guy for Texas is 9% owned Robbie Grossman. So I want to put this in perspective. They are the 4th most owned team, but they don't have a single bat above 10%. So I want you to think about this here. Ownership doesn't matter for Texas. Even though they're at the top, they're not chalky. So even 4th doesn't matter at all. Feel free to get to Texas if you like them. I actually like the Angels side here. This is a park that plays up a little bit of lefty power, which isn't really helping us against Cody Bradford, but 5.5% owned. This is another value spot. They aren't all that great in top stack odds, but they're third in top value for us, second for me, 5th in ownership at 5.5%, which once again, not a big number. I have 15 Angel stacks, 8.5%. I want to take my shot here against Bradford because I don't think that Cody Bradford is worth ignoring. And I'm looking for places that I can be a little bit different. Bradford, 255 X ISO to righties this season across 650 pitches. He's going to see probably 8 righties, the only lefty probably being Jared Walsh. Now, it's not great bat. There's no Trout. There's no Ohtani, which kind of sucks. But as I look at this one, I would like to get to the Angels over the Rangers because of the value they offer. So give me the Angels and give me a little bit of Reed Detmers as well. As I rank this game, it would go Detmers, technically speaking, Rangers, Angels, Bradford, but I feel like I can get a little bit more love out of the Angels. 2 games left. Got about 10 minutes to go before I duck on out of here. Turn this one over to NFL, so we're going to hit the marks today. I like it. Man, that coffee is hitting the spot. Big time coffee hitting the spot. My iPhone is out for delivery right now. Supposed to be here anytime between 10 and 2. That's kind of exciting. Really excited to play with the new iPhone today. Yeah, out for delivery. Come on, man. Be on the early side of 10 to 2. Alrighty, Giants and Padres. 4.1 run implied total for the Giants. 4.4 for the Padres. Kyle Harrison going for San Francisco. Seth Lugo going for the Padres. Now, these guys are basically priced the same. $8,200 for Harrison, $8,400 for Seth Lugo. They are not owned the same. Kyle Harrison is unowned. I don't really have any interest in going to him against San Diego. I do have a lot of interest in going to Seth Lugo, however. $8,400 for Lugo, 5% owned. Bang. I'm getting 13% right now. That's the perfect stand for me here against the Giants. Again, we know what San Francisco's park is. Limits power in a big way. 82 park factor to righties. 87 park factor to lefties. Lugo's got, some strikeout stuff, 25% K rate to lefties, 21.5 to righties. So, slightly better than average. He does have a little bit of power issues against lefties, 195 x ISO, but you're helped out so much here that I think Seth Lugo really plays well into San Francisco. I think in this mid tier at 5% ownership, he's a little sneaky. Like, he shouldn't be 1/6 the ownership of Bailey Ober. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like Ober, but I want to try to take some ownership from other people and give it a little bit of it to Seth Lugo. The easy thing to talk about here is the fact that I don't want to get to either one of these teams, particularly the Giants. 14th in our top stack tool, 13th in ownership. I don't like taking teams in San Francisco, so I'm going to skip the Giants. That's not a team I want. 3% of Yaz and 3% of Flores, the most I have. I'm also not getting to the Padres. Now, Bogarts, Tatis, Soto, Machado, Campusano, please, guys, play those guys if you want to. Talent always rules the roost. They're 5th in top stack. They're 7th in ownership. I think these guys are a little over-owned. I don't have them. The most I have is 2% of some of these guys. I am mostly not on this game. The only priority that I see, and priority is used a little loosely, I think in large field contests, Seth Lugo looks good. Kyle Harrison does give up a shit ton of power, but maybe this park just saves him. There's upside to the Padres if they can get the ball out in San Francisco. It's just so hard to do that. But I understand why Tatis is getting 9% ownership. I understand why the top guys are getting a little bit of love. I think there are better games to go to. So this is basically a stay away from me other than Lugo. I rank it Lugo, Padres, Giants, Harrison. And now, folks, we close it out. Final game of the slate. We're going to get into it now. Mariners and Astros. 4.2 run implied total for the Mariners. 3.6 for the Astros. George Kirby for Seattle. Christian Javier for Houston. George Kirby is $9,700. That is $200 cheaper than Justin Steele. He's one of the 4 most expensive pitchers on the slate. He is 5.5% owned. And if you ask me, I think he's a little bit underrepresented. Is he a big strikeout guy? No. 23% across both. 160 x ISO to both. Park certainly limits runs. Scary matchup against Houston. There's no denying that. But I've got a little bit of interest in George Kirby. I think he should be 10 to 15% owned, and he's only 6. So I'm getting to 12. Perfect. Not a giant stand, but I'm willing to bet on the talent. The other side of this one is where we need to talk. 19% K rate to lefties for Christian Javier. 28% K rate to righties. Now, Javier has a lot of power issues. That will always be a struggle. But he is 8K today and 6% owned. I have 25. I think he should be more 15% owned today. And if you have somebody that should be twice as owned as he is, I'm just going to get there. So I have Christian Javier in a quarter of my lineups. I think there's some strikeout upside depending on how this lineup breaks. And as I look at this range, should Christian Javier have less ownership than Reed Detmers today? I'm not so sure. That seems a little extreme to me. Should Christian Javier have less ownership than Joey Lucchesi, $800 cheaper? I'm not so sure that he should. I think there's some upside to Javier that's getting slept on. So I like the pitching in this one in large field contests in a more sneaky way. I don't like the hitting because this park is terrible for runs. I respect both pitchers, or at least I respect what Javier can be. Mariners lineup is 19th in top stack and top value. I don't know how you want to go to them for bats. They're 17th in ownership. The Astros are 22nd in value, the hardest team to get to, 21st in ownership. I basically don't have them. I only have one share of Tucker, one random share of Mauricio Dubon. So I ranked this game Christian Javier, George Kirby, and none of the bats. Wild game, though. Wild game. Couple more minutes before we got to get out of here. I'm going to sum everything up for you guys, at least the way that I like it right now. For hitting, my preferred options for today's slate. I like the Rays bats at relatively limited ownership. I like the Rockies bats at relatively limited ownership. I have no problem eating the Dodgers chalk, and I think that the A's are the sneaky stack for today. I do not like the Diamondbacks ownership. That strikes me as a little high. Same situation for the Minnesota Twins. Now, for pitching, Kevin Gausman's ownership at 31% is more than warranted. I will eat that and more. Bailey Ober, I do think, is properly owned at 30%. Big time strikeout matchup. Price tag is a little worrisome, but I will be there with the field. I have no issue with Michael King's ownership. 6K looks good for what his strikeout rate has become. Maybe it's a hair high. The only thing that I like about Michael King is sort of being on the opposite side with a stack, but he has the opportunity to be essential at 6K. Those three guys completely deserve their ownership. The guys that I sort of like more than that in large field contests, Christian Javier, George Kirby, Seth Lugo. They would be my three final guys. But that's where we're at for today, folks. 11 games up, 11 games down. Both of my contenders videos are already out if you want to check them out. They're both on the YouTube channel. We also have the NFL show coming up next. You're going to get Laffy and Ben talking NFL, breaking everything down, starting in about 7 minutes. So don't miss it. I'll be back tomorrow with the strategy show. You guys know you're not going to miss it. Fun slate for tonight. Let's win some money because we're closing out the MLB regular season with this show on Friday. Probably be around for like the first week or so of playoffs. We'll see what that ends up looking like, but baseball is running low on games. Guys, good luck. It's been absolutely fantastic to see you today. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to sign up at Owner's Box using the link in the description. Plenty of other deals in the description of this video that can help you out. I'm going to get out of here. Good luck, everybody. Peace.